Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, today I want to talk to you about sunscreen, SPF. I'm not going to get really technical because I'm not really technical about skincare and, you know, these products in general. However, I do want to go through some of the best ones that have worked with me and makeup. So I'm really fussy and very particular about the sunscreen I use under makeup. And I bought quite a few months back. I went through a kind of crazy, it's not crazy, I'm so crazy, through a phase of buying loads of sunscreens to test and to try, knowing that, you know, the hot months were coming up and I really want to keep my skin protected. So I bought quite a few. I kind of narrowed it down to the best ones that are going to work with makeup or give the appearance of a really kind of like smoother skin and without makeup. So that's what I have in front of me today. Okay, just before we get into that, say if this is your first time here, my name's Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life. It's my goal to help you become a pro yourself or just someone who's really good at makeup. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, then please do consider subscribing. So here's what I think makes a really good sunscreen for underneath makeup. Foundation. One reason, the first, is that it doesn't interfere with your foundation in terms of being too greasy, too oily, and it doesn't make you oilier. Reason the second. What was I saying? Oh yeah, one that's easy to reapply on top of your foundation and one that doesn't leave you with like a white veil across the skin. So what I want to do first is start with some sunscreens you can use by themselves. And of course you can put makeup on top, they sit very well under makeup. But I want to show some that give the illusion of makeup when you're not really wearing makeup. And I don't mean like full coverage makeup. So let's start with a Supergoop Glow Screen. This has a really, really nice shine to it. And when it goes on the skin, oh no, I left blush on my hand. Okay, maybe I'll do it like, you can see it, oh, my hairy hands. This is why I never do swatches. But if you can see on my hand how it's got that shine to it, how it's got that really nice glow to it. Let me just tell you as well, straight up, I don't like glitter on the face. It isn't that glitter glow. It's a really nice natural glow from within kind of look. It's super lightweight on the skin, I found as well. It does have more of a fluid-like texture. Not very runny, but it's not as thick as a sunscreen or sun cream that you think of in your head. And it's also not as thick as most face creams either. My skin type is oily and dehydrated. I wore this just on my face once by itself. Out during the day. Unfortunately, I had to go out in the sun and I found it sat very nicely on my skin. My skin looked healthy. It felt protected as well. It smells like sunscreen, but I don't care. I quite like the smell of a sunscreen. I just hate the feeling of it being on my face. So that has to be one of my absolute favorites for more of a glow. Now, it does also say it can help prime the skin. It does also say on the back you can double it up as a highlighter. So what you could do is use your normal sunscreen and then use this in the areas where you would use a highlighter if you're not planning to wear foundation that day. So next up we have the Hello Sunday, the one that's got it all, SPF40. And this is a sun primer. Now, it says it's water and sweat resistant, UVA and UVB. But here's the deal with this one. I found this acted more like a primer, like what you would think a primer does to the skin. Smoothed it out. It felt like it slightly had that kind of slippy, silicone-y texture to it. However, I did find it looked like it blurred the skin, so it definitely has that kind of blurring finish. And foundation went on top of this really, really nicely. So I don't know whether it's meant to be like this, but I did find you had to really, really shake it up because it kind of had like this liquidy kind of separation, you know? So I did find I had to really shake it up. However, this one was weightless on the skin. I did not feel this on the skin at all. For me, it was slightly mattifying as well, which I really, really liked. And again, not heavy. I think that'll be really great for people with oily skin. Having oily skin, I want a really high protection, but I don't want it to be thick protection. So if I can ever find a sunscreen that has that SPF40 UVA, UVB protection, and it's mattifying, then I'm 100% going to go for it. Next up is Supergoop's Bright-eyed 100% Mineral Eye Cream. And this is SPF40. Now, I really like this, but I'm in two minds about it. So recently I had this kind of fascination with, yes, I protect my skin, but I need to find something for my lips, my eyes, and my hands. Because sunscreen around the eyes can hurt sometimes. It makes my eyes like, oh, by the way, I have really bad allergies. That's why my eyes are a bit wet. It hurts my eyes and I get irritated throughout the day if I use sunscreen too close to my eyes. So when I found this, I was like, amazing, let me try it. Now it does have a slightly brightening effect, as the name suggests, and it actually looks incredible without makeup. It really does brighten the under eye area. However, I wore this for a full day what day is it today? Monday, on Saturday. And I did find my eyes started to get really irritated at the end of the day. And I think what the deal was is I used too much on my eyelids. So I personally am going to try using it around the eye here and then just around the brow bone and maybe on the inside corner. And then perhaps completely wipe it away before reapplying it later in the day. But my eyes were so irritated at the end of the day, but I don't know if it was this because I put sunscreen on my body and I feel like maybe I wiped my eye at some point. Could have been allergies. I was sitting outside all day, so who knows? And I didn't reapply it. I didn't reapply it throughout the day. So that's on me, but however, it looks incredible and I'm going to carry on using it. I'm just going to be a little bit more careful with how I apply it personally on myself and how I reapply throughout the day. So let's move away from those kind of like false makeup SPFs and go to a sunscreen that I just think sits incredibly well underneath foundation. And this is the Hello Sunday SPF 45, the one that's a serum. Now, when it says it's a serum, let me just double check here. I believe it's referring to the texture. It's very lightweight. It's almost like watery and runny. It's almost like a milk. And this does leave the most incredible shine on the skin. It's not a shine like a natural kind of glow. It's definitely a shine looking like, oh, you've just moisturized, if that makes sense. So this is the one I would personally choose to wear if I'm not wearing any makeup or just want to slap it on my face and not worry about how I really look. Like I said, it does give a nice glow, so your skin does look healthy. But this is one, say for example, if I'm going to go on vacation, I'm going to take this one with me for the whole day. I'm not going to worry about giving my face a glow all day or mattifying my skin all day. If I want to be protected, I'm going to use this one, because it has that high factor, but it's not heavy. It really does feel like a lightweight serum. Whereas with the other ones, I don't want to keep adding a shine to my skin. I don't know how it's going to look if I don't have a chance to remove it first, how it's going to look if I build it up. And this is one I've been finding myself wearing every single day almost. It just gets on the skin, looks good, doesn't look too shiny. I'm protected. I know I'm protected. I'm not trying to be glossy. I'm not trying to be smooth or matte. I just want my skin to be protected. That's the best one. And underneath foundation as well, it also sits really great. The only thing I did find is that my skin maybe got oilier quicker. That's fine. It's SPF, it's expected, right? It does sit fine underneath foundation. You could absolutely use it under your foundation. I would suggest, however, if you are oilier, to go for this one. Whereas if you had drier skin, you can wear this under foundation, and you can wear this one under foundation as well. Okay, let's move on to the body. And let's start with hands, because one thing that I noticed about me is I'm very conscious of the sun because I see it as aging now. I used to lay in the sun and bake my skin and I tan very easily. Luckily, being part Mexican, my skin catches the sun very well, so I don't have to worry too much about catching a tan. However, one thing I do worry about with sun though is now that it's just an aging device. The sun's a device that is going to age my skin. And being in my early 30s, that's something I'm very conscious of at the moment. So when I'm driving, I'm like, you know what? Everything's on show. My hands are on show, and I can't really do this with sunscreen because my hands become so slippery, and I try and wipe them, and it's just not a good time. So I found Supergoop again. Supergoop Hand Screen SPF 40. I'm personally not somebody who likes the thickness of hand cream. I don't like the feeling of it being too thick on my hands, but at the same time, of course, I want to be protected from the sun. I found out this much is good for one hand. So I can literally use it on the top here and all up my fingers and I'm covered. I'm good. Look, it doesn't look tacky or sticky or anything like that. And to be honest with you, Supergoop have been like they filled in all the gaps for me when it comes to sunscreen. It's kind of difficult to get in the UK for some reason. Now let's move on to Paul and Joe. And this is the Sun Protection Body Primer. And this one is clear. Now they do one which has shimmer in, which actually the shimmer isn't bad for somebody who doesn't like glitter. The shimmer's quite nice. That'll be like a nice, like in the evening, like, ooh, like, you know, on the neck and the shoulders and the legs. This one, I personally really like this one. SPF 50, PA+++++. It's super lightweight. It is that fluid feeling, but again, it feels protected. Now, it is quite strongly fragrance. This is my only issue with this. And when you sweat, fragrance kind of gets a little bit amplified. It smells like, the only thing I can compare it to, it smells like copper tone if it was slightly more floral. So that sunscreen smell if it was slightly more floral. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want it all over like my chest and my, you know, because when I sweat, it's just going to smell so intense. And it is, again, like that floral smell. I don't mind floral fragrances. it's just a little bit too much. So it is a really, really nice sunscreen if you don't mind fragrance, but I mean, it smells pretty good. Okay, let's move on to lips. I know you can buy SPF for the lips anyway, but and they're quite easy to get, but I did just want to share two of my favorites with you. And of course, let's go back to Supergoop, the Lip Screen SPF40. Now, the reason I liked this one more than a stick is because I found some sticks kind of have that white cast as well, whereas this is more of a gloss. Probably should have put this in the first category, but if you want that kind of like glossy lip, this is a really nice one to go for. The only thing I did find with that one is you do get that sunscreen taste in your mouth. It does very much taste like sunscreen, and it is quite close to the mouth to have such a strong taste like that, but it's not off-putting. The only thing I think, maybe if you're drinking it, it might get a bit weird up there. And second of all is the Bondi Sands Lip Balm SPF50, and this is the watermelon. I was gonna say flavor, I guess it is a flavor. And this one is more balmy, if that makes sense. So it comes out more like a balm, whereas the Supergoop one came out more like a gloss. This is the one I personally use a lot because it tastes nice and it doesn't look as glossy. Like you could use a tiny bit and it will just feel like a lip balm. A very lightweight as well. And the watermelon isn't overwhelming. It's definitely that artificial watermelon taste, but it's not completely, like I said, overwhelming. Now, one thing I'd like for you to bear in mind when you're using your foundation and SPF, your foundation may say that it has SPF in, but it's not enough to protect you. And there's loads of resources that can help you look that up online and explain why. I can't because I don't know, but I know it's not enough protection. I would always use an SPF along with makeup. Okay, let's talk about reapplying sunscreen on top of your foundation. Me and my brother did a video last year, I think it was, about how to do this. But this is a method that I actually learned from Michelle Wong. You may know her from labmuffin.com, but this is something that she did, and I've seen people do it since, but it's a really great way to reapply sunscreen and keep your makeup intact. So yes, you can use powders again, however, on deeper skin tones, I really don't think there's a powder that's good enough just yet. On fair skin tones, yes, you can get away with it. On my skin tone even, it's a little bit risky. So I want to show you a way to do it for everyone. And I'm actually going to use the Hello Sunday one because it's more of that fluid texture. So I'm going to grab a beauty sponge. I'm actually going to use it dry. I'm not going to use it damp. So here's what I'm going to do first. We're going to like pretend I'm halfway through the day. My skin's a bit shit. I'm going to take a refreshing mist, not a setting spray, a refreshing mist or hydrating mist. The ones from Colourpop for hyaluronic acid spray is a good one. I just use Paul and Joe fixing mist, and I'm just going to let that settle into the skin for a little bit. Now, any areas where you find is a little bit cakey or cracky, perhaps it's around the nose, just go ahead and tap that out with your beauty sponge. This is the sponge from Luna Beauty. And just fix those areas first before we go in with it. But by using a hydrating spray, you're almost reactivating what you've done, and you can fix all that up. Now, one thing I didn't mention, which I want to just put in here, the sponge I'm using is super dense, so it's not almost like that spongy texture, if that makes sense. What you want to do is use the right amount of sunscreen. So what I'm doing here is I'm building up bit by bit, but still making sure I'm using enough sunscreen, because it's the amount of product, you know, that gives you the protection. So gradually build it up, but make sure you are using enough and that your sponge isn't absorbing all that sunscreen. And just drop a little bit on the back of the hand. Now I'm going to do it bit by bit, gradually, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it just like you would any beauty blender. Starting from the inside of the face out. Now this is, again, you can use like sprays and things like that, but I find this way you can feel where you're applying that product and you can almost guarantee coverage. Whereas with the spray, they're quite sporadic and it kind of just sprays out anywhere. And they can be quite intoxicating, like the fragrance and the smell. And there's always, with a mist, there's almost like a level of like an alcohol-y smell, which isn't the nicest to be spraying in your face and around your eyes, you know. So a little bit at a time and very gentle. We're tapping. We're not dragging, otherwise we're going to ruin the foundation. Now, yes, this is going to make you a little bit shiny, but we can give it a few minutes and go back in with some powder if we want to. So I'm pretty confident I've covered my whole face. I'm just going to let that set for 1 second and let my kind of makeup deal with it underneath, you know. Now, here's the only thing. If we're going to powder our face afterwards, what we don't want to do is go to our face and then back into the powder, because we're essentially going to put that sunscreen into the powder. So what we have to do is load up our brush all the way around. And I'm not even going to tap it off, and go in one application to all the areas we want to go. So now it may not be perfect. It is quite difficult to reapply sunscreen on top of foundation and have your skin just looking flawless. So, but you know you're protected that way, and your skin isn't going to be flawless if you don't have protected skin anyway. So I hope that helped. If you have any tips on your favorite sunscreens, what products you like to use, and go ahead and leave them below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll link all the sunscreens I use below for you as well. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Please consider subscribing, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.